Hey, folks, welcome back to another episode of the California Clays podcast. I'm your host, Henning. On today's episode, I'm sitting down once again with one of the sport's all time greats, Desirae Edmunds. If you follow Sporting Clays, you already know Desi's resume. She's a multiple time national and world champion, PSCA Tour Ladies Champion, Team USA shooter, and one of the most consistent and respected competitors to ever step on the clay course. But this year marks an especially meaningful milestone. Desi was inducted into the Sporting Clays Hall of Fame. In this conversation, we talk about what that honor means to her, the moments and the people who helped shape her journey, and how she's continuing to grow as both a competitor and a mentor in the sport. We'll also get into her travel schedule and a few stories from the road that remind us why we all love this game. It's always a pleasure to have her back, so here's my conversation with Hall of Famer Desirae Edmunds. Desi, welcome to the California Clays podcast. I appreciate you joining me again.
Thanks, Henning. I'm happy to be here.
So we were just at Nationals, and
Yeah.
something really exciting happened while we were there. You got inducted into the Hall of Fame for the National Sporting Clays Association. So first off, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I got to ask, what was going through your mind when you first heard about this was going to be happening?
It was kind of crazy. I actually heard about it earlier this year. And I was very surprised. I didn't know that I was nominated at all. I didn't know that I was even, it was an option on the table. So it was definitely a surprise for me. I got to think about it a lot before I got to nationals, which is a good and bad thing. A good thing meaning obviously it's an honor and it's a privilege, but I had to kind of ruminate over what I was going to say for months at a
Yeah.
time, and I definitely procrastinated on that, which I do typically. So, but it all turned out good in the end, so I can't complain.
No, I think it turned out great. There's a copy of the video of your speech and Zach's speech introducing you on the California Clays YouTube channel. If anyone wants to check it out, I think you spoke very well. Zach did a good job as well. I know he was a little
Thank
nervous,
you.
but
Yeah,
uh,
I think he was more nervous than I was for sure.
yeah,
He doesn't do public speaking well, but I was going to make him do that one. So,
it's hard.
and thank you for videoing it. That was awesome.
Oh
I
yeah. Well,
appreciate
I
it.
just happened to be in the perfect spot for it. I was literally
Yeah.
right in front of the podium, and while I was still coming from underneath, it was still a good spot. So I said, "This is kind of momentous
Yeah.
thing. I need to record it." So glad that I
Yeah.
did.
And I appreciate you being there too. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. I really appreciate that as well. So, what does it mean for you being inducted into the Sporting Clays Hall of Fame? I know you've had time to reflect on it now. What was that? What does it mean for you now, being part of it, that
Um,
legacy?
it's kind of hard to just summarize in one quick little blurb,
Yeah,
right? It's a lot of years of hard work. So there's partly relief that all of the hard work is going towards something, right? It's not
yeah,
just this open-ended, grind year after year. And so I felt kind of relief a little bit in
yeah,
regards that, my hard work was getting recognized or it was noticed and it was worth it. It was excitement. I felt a little bit excited at times, right? Because I do love it. I love the grind. I love part of the competition. So it kind of actually injected a little bit more energy into my mindset and into my, want to keep doing this. This year specifically was really, really hard on the schedule. It was exhausting. So it kind of injected a little bit more life into me there.
how many years
You get
now have you been competing?
Oh, a long time.
Yeah.
At least 20. Yeah.
20 years.
About
Okay. So
20.
20 years of
Yeah.
competition, 20 years of competing all over the world, 20
hmm
years of also contributing and volunteering your effort to the association, and
Yeah.
doing other things related to the sport to help it
Yeah.
grow.
Yeah, and I've definitely gotten more involved the last few years in terms of delegate and EC and things like that, which I'm actually really enjoying. I
Yeah.
enjoy being a part of it and knowing kind of how it's working and being able to help and have an impact on the sport that, is my career.
Was there a particular moment in the ceremony that kind of hit you emotionally, or
Yeah. I'm not typically real emotional in front of people. But there was definitely some moments where, you were kind of feeling it on the inside of definitely Zach when when you think your family, right? Your family means so much to you,
Mhm.
and everybody else doesn't see the work that they put in to help support you, but you're
Right.
just running through all those memories in your mind. So definitely, when I think my family and when I think Zach, because he knows how much it means too. Obviously firsthand, he's a Hall of Famer. So it was definitely emotional part of the speech, I think. But I held it all together. So that was good. We didn't cry.
So you've got two Hall of Famers in the same household now.
Yeah.
What does that feel like?
Well, my house is a mess, but it's a good house, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
you guys have, kind of got a unique situation where you both have been doing this together during the whole time of your competition. Maybe Zach a little bit longer, but once you came into the picture and into each other's lives, it seems like you guys have just been, through thick and thin through all of this stuff. So, what does it mean? Is that the emotional part that you're talking about? Like, you
yeah.
do this together. It's been your not only your personal journey, but you're also your couplehood journey as well. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think so. And I think as a significant other, he in this case sees the worst parts of it. He
Yeah.
sees when you're at your lowest. He sees when I'm struggling the most.
Hmm.
And he's seen it over the years and in every moment, and was there to help support you and get you through that, and then it comes to fruition, and now we're here. So I think that's partly why that is so emotional to me, is because he's been there. I mean, he's seen it when I wanted to quit, when I thought the world was ending, um
Can
when
I
I
ask you
couldn't.
about that? So, and if it's not too
Yeah.
personal and you don't mind sharing, like, tell us, like, what is a hard? I mean, you've done this for so long. A lot of the competitive shooters who do this as kind of like their living, right? What are some
Mhm.
of the ups and downs of competition aside from losing, aside from maybe
Right.
missing about one target? Like, what do you
Right.
guys go through?
Yeah, I think one of the hardest things for me that I could probably say is staying hungry, right? When you do it so much, when you compete so frequently, year after year after year, it's
Yeah.
really hard to mentally stay hungry, right? When you're younger, when you're just starting out, you have this this drive to prove yourself almost.
Hmm.
And once you've shot for a long enough period of time, you have to start finding more reasons to continue to do it.
More meaning behind what you're doing. More,
Yeah.
yeah, things that
Yeah.
motivate and
And
excite you. Yeah.
and I think the reasons are always changing, which is not a bad thing, right? When you first start, I think you have, certain reasons that are driving you, and then as you do it, those reasons change, but finding them is a challenge. So that's one of the hardest things. It's exhausting too. Traveling is just exhausting. I am tired this year.
Yeah.
We got home after nationals, and I'm physically tired, I'm mentally tired. um just constantly schedule change and places and moving and different pieces have come together. So I was really tired after this year. So making sure that you give yourself those times to regroup and catch up,
Hmm.
and then start back over again.
So
um
recharging, recollecting, resetting is really
yeah.
important. But
Yeah.
during the season, what keeps you coming back every year to do it? I mean, besides the people, I think the people are probably a big motivator. Not to put words in your mouth, but I know how you
Yeah.
are. You've got a
Yeah.
lot of friends in the sport, a lot of folks that look up to you, that like you. So I'm sure that's a big motivator. But the competition side for the folks that are it all varies depending on where you're at in your shooting journey. A
Hmm.
lot of people when they hit master class, they get burnt out and then they don't want to do
Right.
it anymore. And you guys
Right.
have been doing it not only at a master class but a pro level, but then consistently over 20 years, right? So how do you like what have been those things that have allowed you to get back into it?
um I think it's knowing that you have a higher potential. For me, it's
Mm,
like knowing, right, as I'm trying to improve my game, I'm always evolving, right? And that's one of Zach's lines. He said, if you're not evolving, you're not getting better because the game is evolving and
Right.
you have to change with the game. So knowing as I'm trying to improve, knowing that the potential is higher, knowing that I can do more, knowing that I can hit more, knowing that I can win more. And I'm a super competitive person, so that in itself has always been a really big driving force for me. It's like trying to find that potential, trying to find that highest point that you can get to. And I don't know if you ever really reach that in this game. But you have successes along the way, right? You have those peak moments. So that is something that really drives me. The last few years being more a part of an impact on other shooters has been a driving force for me. So in my coaching, in mentoring, whether it be youth or beginners or ladies or, experienced advanced competitive shooters, I think it's important that I keep improving so that I can help them better, right? So even in my own shooting, right? The better I'm shooting, the more I understand, the better I can help them,
Right.
right? And I have to evolve my teaching and my delivery just as much as the game changes. So that's also been a big driving force for me here the last couple years, I would say. And this is what we've chosen to do. I've always loved it,
Yeah.
right? And that hasn't gone away.
I
So,
mean, it's a fun thing to do. I mean, if there, I could pick a
yeah,
lot worse things to get into and not want to do.
right.
So,
Yeah.
it seems like you've had a lot of time to reflect, especially given the Hall of Fame coming up and, all the things that you've done in your shooting career. But can you walk us through that story from the girl who shot 5 cent for the first time in Alaska, like you mentioned in your speech, to now
Mhm.
being a Hall of Famer? Like you mentioned in your speech, like you never thought in a million years you'd get there, right?
Yeah.
What was that journey like in really condensed version? I mean, that's a long story, right? But like from there to here, like if you were to talk to your younger self now, what would have you have told yourself?
Uh, the first thing I would have told myself is time flies, right?
Right.
And that's really what I was kind of, the basis of that thought when I first started that speech was it literally feels like that was a few years ago. I mean, that I just started. And after all of these years of competing, there are moments where it feels so long, where the year feels so drug out. And then when you look at it as a whole picture, it's like, oh my God, that feels like it was yesterday.
Right.
And it just blows my mind. And I could never, since the moment I found out to the moment I gave that speech, it never felt any different than that, right? So it was just, for lack of a better words, for lack of a better synopsis, it was like time flies, right? It goes so fast. So you need to enjoy those moments and enjoy the process and enjoy each step of it, whether it's good or it's bad, because man, it goes really, really fast.
There's something to time flying by when you get into a routine, right? Where days feel
Mhm.
like every other thing. But with a tour like the championship tour, those are your highlights of the year, and you're training up to it, you're getting ready for it, preparing for it, and then when they come and go, it just flies by. It was kind of
Right.
like, nationals even. You've planned it for over a year. You end up
Right.
going there. It's a week long if you're there for the whole week, or if you're even there for just 4 or 5 days. It goes by like that. I kept thinking,
Bam.
oh, I've got 4 days, I'm cool. I've got 3 days,
Right.
I'm cool. I got 2 days, I'm cool. And then like the last day comes up and you're like, oh man, I gotta go to work after this. I don't want to go.
Yeah.
But it just goes by fast. And so I think over the years after doing this over and over and over again, and then just using these events as kind of like your milestones, they can kind of blur and blend in together, right?
Yeah.
What sticks
Yeah.
out?
Um, I don't know, Henning. I'm still ruminating on it. I'm still, looking back and trying to put kind of some bullet points on things. Um, when I moved to Texas with Zachary in 2012, when we moved to Houston, that was probably the first time that I really thought this is something that I could do.
Hmm.
And I didn't know exactly what that meant at the time, exactly what this was. but I knew that I wanted to be involved in it as
Right.
much as I possibly could. And as I shot each year and continued to progress, and you start to build a, accomplishment list, a resume through that, I did start to kind of think, wow, like this is actually, possible. This is something that I could do, because you never
Mhm.
really know what the potential is there. And uh I don't know. And then I feel like in my shooting I kind of hit a plateau. Um I
Wait,
was shooting
recently or back when?
it was probably 4 or 5 years ago, and I can't really tell you, how long it's been. I think that plateau for me felt like a few years. And that was kind of when COVID happened. We moved to Savannah, bought a house. And I just kind of felt like my priorities were kind of shifting a little bit.
Hmm.
The shooting was still on the list, on the priority list. It just maybe wasn't at the top.
Yeah. I
Um,
remember talking about this actually one time we were driving somewhere and I was asking about how you're staying motivated, how you're doing it. And you were like, I don't know, man. I'm kind of, you were there, but I could tell like you were also a little burnt out on it, if I'm being honest,
yeah,
like, dude, you realize how much we travel? You're like, it looks like this sexy, great thing, but we travel so much, and I have to travel even when I don't want to travel, is what you're
right.
so yeah. So
Yeah,
was
so
that the plateau that you felt? Like you just felt like you
yeah,
were out from doing it, you
yeah,
needed to
it
reset?
just kind of became stagnant, for
Yeah.
lack of a better word. It's not that I didn't love it. It's not that I was, I was still shooting okay.
Yeah.
But it
Well,
just
you're
kind of
shooting
became
great.
stagnant. And I had to find uh, a new reason or more reasons to kind of reinvigorate myself. And I feel like I've kind of found that the last 3 years.
Hmm.
And again, it's not that I was like shooting horribly or anything. I mean, I still, could get in, on the podium here and there and at the majors, but I finally these last few years I kind of found a new love for it, a new passion for it again. And then the Hall of Fame came, and that was right, and that was kind of like the sign that the ball is rolling in the right direction, that everything's moving forward again, and I'm where I'm supposed to be.
It's a funny thing because like your competitive journey kind of feels like a relationship with the
Mm,
game, with the sport, right? And
yeah.
every relationship, there needs to be work both ways. It can't just be a one-way street. And there's going to be days when the relationship isn't working, and then there's going to be days when it's working great, and you're in it and you're 100% in. Is that how it feels like for you, or am I'm just talking out loud?
Yeah,
But
for sure.
yeah,
For sure. And Anthony's a good friend. We were talking to him I can't remember exactly where we were, but we were having a conversation with him just about, you have to find what works for you. Whether that be practicing every day, whether that be once a week, whether that be, your schedule. You have to find what works for you because there's no perfect recipe.
hmm,
And that what works for you, that recipe changes,
hmm,
right?
hmm,
Like Anthony was talking about it, his approach to how he practices and what he does is a lot different now that he has four freaking kids. you
yeah,
know, that's a lot of his life. That's his life and his time. So he had to, change things. And Zach and I don't have kids, but we're also having to change some of our, approaches on things and schedule on things. Zach wants to do more hunting, right? And as different things in your life come up that you feel like need more of your time, you have to figure out how to make it work with shooting. And again, this is what we do, so it's always on the priority list. I know for a lot of people, right? It's just a hobby, but you can still look at it with the same intention as even though it's a hobby, um, by planning it out, right? So you're
right,
getting the most out of it. You're getting the most enjoyment out of it. You're
right.
getting the most improvement. You're getting the most out of the time that you do have to spend doing it.
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't know. I think we're all trying to figure it out, and it's all changing every year, and there's no magic answer.
Yeah.
There's no, you know.
You've been instrumental in a lot of shooters' lives. Who's been instrumental in your life in terms of getting you where you're at?
Obviously, Zach is huge. Anthony is a great friend of ours. We talk with him a lot. A lot of the shooters, right? Mike Wilgus, our current national champion. We have been
Yeah.
friends with the Wilgus family for a long time. Eric and Keegan Harvey, Kimball and Rollins. I mean, the Daniels. The list goes on and on and on. Of these people are not just our shooting buddies. I mean, these are our friends. These
Yeah.
are the people we spend our lives with on the range and off the range. And they all have an impact in some way, shape, or form.
Mhm.
Um, when I was younger and I was going to some of the regionals, right, my parents couldn't afford or didn't have the time to go with me. So I would get on a plane and my mom, we would talk it out, and Anthony had to come pick me up at the airport, and wherever they were staying, whatever hotel they were staying in, that's the hotel I had to stay in. And I would hitch rides with whoever. And I would, hitch rides, share golf carts, and whatever I could do to get to the shoot. And, without them, I wouldn't be able to do it.
Mhm.
And I mean, back then it was, Brad Kidd and Brian Hughes and Zach and Diane has always been a big part of, my shooting in my life. And I mean, the list is,
Huge.
innumerable. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I couldn't name everybody. But they all have an impact in one way or another.
When you look back, what moments or achievements just really stand out as a defining moment for you as a competitor?
Um, to me, the majors,
The majors. Okay.
both Worlds, the U.S. Open, and the Nationals.
Mhm.
Those are the four majors in my mind. We don't shoot, some of the European stuff, which I'd like to, later on in my career. But if I can show up and be on podium at those four majors, I feel like I'm doing pretty good. So when I won both worlds, those are big moments in my mind, both nationals. The championship tour, we crown that at the end of the year. I think that kind of goes a little unnoticed at times.
Yeah. Why is
Because
that?
that's probably one of the more demanding accomplishments,
Sure.
right? That covers all seven shoots, that covers every event. So you've really got to be participating, and you've got to be participating well to
Mhm.
be on that. And I've won that a lot. I think I won that 6 years in a row. So it wasn't a moment that really I was proud of that, but just now looking back, it's like, damn, that was really awesome. Like
Yeah, yeah.
that was a lot of hard
Is
work.
that the total score of all the events combined?
Yeah, so it's not by score necessarily, it's by placement. So you
Okay.
get awarded points based off of placement, and that's for each event at each region. Well, it's for main, uh, five stand, fee task, and super sporting
Okay.
at each of the regionals. And then those points go into the end of the year. So that's the championship tour. Um, I don't know. I think that list is, hopefully growing, right?
Yeah.
And each gets more. I haven't put World Fee Task on the list yet. So the year that when, not if, but when I win World Fee Task, that will definitely go into the top of
What
the
were the two worlds that you
accolades.
won in English?
Yeah. World
Both were
Sporting.
English.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Looking back on the 2025 season, and I'm sure you do this after every season, right? Like a debrief or a kind of recap for yourself about what went
Mhm.
well, what didn't go well. Can we walk through the season of 2025 now that it's over, and you tell us a little blurb about each tournament that was either a takeaway, a lesson learned? I learned a lot of lessons myself in this last night.
Right.
So let's start with, since the first one this year was the U.S. Open in April. What was
Hmm.
your takeaway from that?
Yeah, to be completely honest, I'm sorry if I screw up the schedule because this year was like one big blur. So I don't remember some of them I don't remember right now as I'm looking back, right?
Yeah.
Yes, the US Open was the first one of the
Providence
year. That
Hill,
was in, yep, that was
Mississippi.
in Mississippi.
Hmm.
Um, and anytime you start the year off with the US Open, it's pretty serious, right? Because you're getting right into the thick of it. Um, I feel like I shot okay at Mississippi. I didn't shoot as well as I wanted to. I was kind of struggling through a few things in, specific things in my shooting. Um, but I knew that that was only the first one of the year. So even though it was a major, it was kind of like, look, you're going to go in, you're going to be prepared, you're going to do the best you can, and it is what it is. But you still have an entire season left. So you can't let that set the tone, right? In the event that you don't shoot exactly the way you want to, you can't let that shoot set the tone for the rest of the year. Um, so we did Mississippi. I would have to look at a schedule, to be honest, Henning, to
How do you
look.
not make it set the tone? Do you just let it go and then just move on, or
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you have to learn how to let them go.
yeah,
You have to learn,
you
well,
have to
you have
dwell
to
on
learn
it?
how to analyze. You have to learn how to correct, right? I'm not just because you let it go doesn't mean you're not trying to learn or utilize some things that went wrong and correct from them. But
Yeah,
yeah, you have to learn how to let them go. You're not going to win everything all of the time. At least it hasn't happened yet. So,
what about not even the winning part? What about the just being up there part, you know?
yeah, I mean,
What
and
if you're
that's
not up
different for
there?
everybody.
Have
Yeah,
you
that's
ever?
different for everybody. For me, I need to be on the podium.
Yeah,
Like if I'm not on the podium, then I did not shoot well.
yeah.
And that's just how I've always been. I mean, and I'm
Hmm.
not trying to sound, vain or anything, but yeah, I need to be on the podium, and that to me is successful. And every event I'm going to, I want to win.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to just say, oh, I'm going to shoot okay, and everything will be. That's what I do at charity events. That's what I do at fun events. But yeah, you have to learn to let them go. So we
What about
did US
Northeast
Open.
Regional?
Northeast was
Northeast was
at,
Cardinal Shooting Center, Ohio.
yeah, Ohio. Uh, so along with Ohio, we went to Eagles Nest and we shot a Grand Prix, which
Hmm.
was really hard. So that was kind of awesome. I do remember that event. The Eagles Nest did a great job, but that was a tough fee task. And um, I think Ohio went went okay. Again, I feel like I shot well, but just, you know, maybe not perfect. I think I took third there in Ohio if I remember right. So shooting good, just not really sharp, not really fine-tuned. Again, knowing we still have a full season ahead of us, trying to build into the shoots that matter more to me personally, at the time than that. So I knew that we had both world championships coming up, later in the year and the nationals at the end of the year. So to me, I was trying to build into those. So it wasn't as a downer when I didn't shoot as well as I wanted to in Ohio.
Hmm.
Um, but we did that. And then
Then
what
you had
was
the North
next?
Central at Games Unlimited in Wisconsin.
Yeah, and I'm trying to see, this is when I need Zach. Zach is so much better at scheduling than I am. You know how in
This was in
relationships
August.
you're good at some things and your
Yeah.
other half are good at
I'm good at
other
nothing.
things?
I'm good at nothing, so I can't relate, but
No, come on. Yeah, the scheduling is not Desi's forte. That's definitely a Zach thing. But I'm trying to think. So we did. Let me look here. We did Chicago. I know I should have been more prepared, but
oh, no, you're
let's
good.
see. Yeah, so we did Jack Link, Seminole. We had Browning Bradley. We had the U.S. Open. Yeah, so we did that right after. Okay,
The
American
Games
Grand
Unlimited North
Prix.
Central region.
Yep. So we left we left the Northeast and we went to we shot Georgia State. No, we actually didn't shoot Georgia State. We went somewhere. We went up to New York. We were teaching there. And then so yeah. So before Game Unlimited, we had a lot going on. So we left the Northeast. We shot a Grand Prix in Mississippi. We went back to Mississippi. We shot another FITAS shoot. Then we went up to New York. We taught at Orvis Sandinona for a clinic. And then we went to Chicago and we taught for about a week. And that was, we used a couple days while we were there to practice. And we got on a plane to England. So we went to the World English in London. And then we shot the World English and we left from there and we went to Cyprus. So that trip to Chicago right before we left for England was the start of our biggest trip of the year. We were gone for 77 days.
Wow.
Yeah. So the World English went well for me. I ended up tying for first and I lost in the shoot off by one bird. So again, my goals at the end of each year are the majors. So I feel like I did really well there.
Mhm.
So we left England, we went to Cyprus. We didn't know how that was going to be. There was a whole mess going on with Israel. We're not very far from there. Syria's over there. So there was a lot of just kind of unknowns. We weren't sure what the situation and what the temperature was going to be like in terms of, politically. So we got to Cyprus. It was extremely hot in Cyprus. And I did not shoot as well as I wanted to. And not because of the heat. The first 2 days, I was really nervous and I did not do well.
Was that
I
the
did
first time
not.
you were there?
Yes, this is
Okay.
the first time we've shot in Cyprus. The pressure definitely got to me at that World Feed task more than it ever has.
Yeah.
I felt prepared and I got there the first day and I really let my nerves take over some of my process. I didn't have a good mental routine. I wasn't physically relaxed. Nothing felt right. The first 2 days of World Feed Task, nothing felt right. The
Hmm.
gun mount felt wrong. I was not seeing the bird well. I mean every peg felt like just a grind.
What do you attribute that to? Because I can relate on a
Yeah.
smaller scale. Like that's what it felt like from nationals for me. And this year I felt like going my third time I'd be comfortable there, but nope. What do you
Yeah,
attribute this to?
yeah, uh I didn't plan well.
Hmm.
I didn't correct in the moment properly. Right? I wasn't thinking about the right things, the things that I know I should be thinking about. I was really unorganized in my thoughts.
Sorry, not to interrupt, but can you elaborate on that a little bit? Like, what were you
Yeah,
supposed to
so
be thinking and that you
um
weren't
s-
doing?
yeah, so when you get real nervous, right? When the pressure is really high and you're feeling it. And I still perform, slightly better under pressure. I like that. But I really have to double down on what I'm doing with my eyes
Hmm.
and using my body.
Okay.
Okay. And in fee task, for me personally, I have some flaws, definite flaws in my gun mount, and I was worried about those. And instead of double downing on the things that I know I should be thinking about, I was thinking a lot about the conscious side of the shooting,
Yeah.
about approach, about hole points, about, insertion points, about when I'm going to kill the bird, instead of thinking about, soft focus, how I'm setting my eyes, if I'm getting to hard focus, when I'm getting to hard focus, being relaxed, rotating with my body. And it was just like beating my head against a wall trying to do those things, and I was just unorganized in my own head. I was really unorganized and I couldn't seem to correct it right away.
Do you see it as an organizational challenge or like,
I do. For
yeah.
me,
Okay.
I see it as an organizational challenge only because it's not that I don't know I should be thinking about those things. It's that I wasn't organized enough to do it.
Okay.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do, and
I
I'm trying to like look at it from different ways. So you're calling it organization, maybe discipline could be it, maybe mental routines that you talked about too. You weren't doing your routines.
Yeah.
So when you're doing it right, what does that look like?
So for me, when my process when when the plan of shooting the target becomes too involved in the mental routine,
Yep.
I start to fail.
Okay. That makes sense. I
So
can
I
relate to that.
need to make a plan and have that ready to go. And then when I step in the box, it's about a routine.
Right.
And when I involve too much of the plan into the mental routine, it becomes a problem.
Yeah. You
I'm
become careful,
becoming,
right?
yeah, I'm becoming too conscious about lots of things.
Mm-hmm.
That would include insertion points, that would include hole points, that would include, right, kind of a technique type of thing, that would include reading the bird. Um, when I'm involving that too much into the pre-shot routine, for, to be specific, it doesn't work well for me.
Can I ask you about that? So I've noticed different shooters do different things, right? And so I don't want to name shooters because I don't know if this is their actual process, but let's take a shooter that is very methodical in their approach. I'm actually going to use one because on the outside it looks like he's very methodical in his approach, where he has been a Joe Finizzi who's been very successful. He's planning things out, with his finger. He's
Yep.
setting up. He's got a routine that he does. And is that, do you think that's more of a subconscious routine, or is that his conscious routine as he's planning versus like a Brandon that on the outside it looks like he sees it, loads, close, bam, bam, gets right back into it, bam, bam. He's not, it doesn't seem like he
Yeah.
has a lot of routine involved, and maybe it's all in his
Yeah.
head. Can you elaborate on that and maybe shed
I,
some
I
light
mean,
on
I,
that?
I, I don't know, right? Because I haven't actually asked either of them, exactly what they're going through. I think it has a lot to do with the style of shooting that they each have. They're very
Yeah,
different style shooters, right? Joe is very analytical, and he has to be because of the way he shoots.
right.
So Joe is shooting more of a spot. Joe is we joke with him, we call him Ambush Joe. He likes to ambush the target, but
I've noticed that too in shoot offs. Like he cuts
Joe's
off the
shooting,
target.
yeah, his shooting style is very specific to him.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone is good enough to emulate that. I mean, that's how talented Joe is. But
Well, what about Bill McGuire? Doesn't Bill McGuire do a little bit of ambush too?
yeah, but Bill's still got a lot of feel and some
Okay.
other things going on in there. And Bill doesn't shoot nearly as fast as Joe.
Hmm.
So I think Joe's routine is naturally going to be definitely more analytical, a little more conscious about certain things prior to pull because of his shooting style. Brandon is definitely more of a feel shooter. He is not as concerned, in my opinion, he's not as concerned with a whole point. He's not as concerned with an insertion point about exactly how he's approaching the target. He's just trying to reach that end moment of
Yeah.
intense visual focus on the target, and when it feels right, let it go.
Similar to Digweed.
So I think he is definitely can go off of more of an emotional side of things, and he's that way as a person. I think he shoots well with a lot of emotion. Not everybody does.
Hmm.
So his routine's going to be a lot faster. But again, I don't know. I haven't asked either of them, what what they think about.
No, I think that's actually a really good point because, frankly, I think that's why shooting with you and Zach probably worked better for me because when I say shooting with you guys, like you guys as my coaches, I felt like you guys were a little bit more feel oriented.
Mhm.
Am I assuming that right? Or
Yeah, I mean, I definitely am conscious about the pre-plan, but yeah, when I'm shooting really well, it's definitely more of a feel in the moment.
right,
Yeah.
right,
It's not as much concern for um the the actual shot, right? Am I executing perfectly? Am I, starting exactly where I want? It's definitely more of a feel thing. But there's a balance, right? There's a balance to everything, and it depends on how much pressure you have on you at the moment, and what the target set is, and is it the last stand in the national championship, or is it the first stand of, the 1, 2, 3 blast this weekend,
right,
so
right.
it depends. I don't know. I'm learning more about that in my own shooting. I would say this year, that's one of the things that I've had to work on the most is the mental side of things.
Yeah. So
And I'm still
going
learning
back
a
to
lot more.
Cyprus, you're out in the middle of an island in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea.
Hmm.
You said it was your first time there or second time there?
Yeah, first
First time
time.
there. So you're out of your element, if you will. It's a new place. You don't know what to expect. You also have
Hmm.
things going around you. Syria's to the right, Lebanon's to your right, Iraq's to the right of you guys. Who knows what's
Hmm.
going on over there? And just to the south of you is everything else that's going on in Israel and everything else. So no issues regarding that.
No, no, we didn't have any issues.
Okay.
Nope. It's a very tourist place, so everything seemed as usual. We didn't have any problems. Everyone was very nice. And we enjoyed it. We had a great time. The coastline is beautiful. The water was amazing, but it was extremely hot. So we've shot in a lot of hot weather, so it really, I don't think it impacted my shooting, and I think there's a few of us that it didn't impact the shooting as much. The weather didn't anyways.
Was it
Maybe
Houston hot or was it California hot or
Uh, it wasn't quite as humid.
okay.
But yeah, it was hot, bro. It was real hot. It was in the high 90s, I think.
Okay.
Um, and just imagine, right, when you go overseas, there's not as much amenities, especially World FITASC, because World FITASC is typically on it's not necessarily at a gun club, right?
Mm.
So we think of like majors going to these really um established gun clubs. World FITAS isn't necessarily at a gun club. It's just at a piece of property that they really like that they want to throw. So it's can be very bare bones in that regard. So
Interesting.
imagine it being, high 90s, but you don't have any air conditioning and you don't have any water and there's no golf carts and there's no buggies and there's very little shade. So it
Oh, they don't
becomes
provide water?
they tried to this year. So they had buckets of water at each waiting point. But no, they don't. I mean, they don't have water at every peg that you go to. Not even close to the amenities that we have. We're spoiled here in the
Are we?
US. I mean, we are absolutely spoiled. We have snack stations every three stands, and water on every stand, and benches, and gun racks, and yeah, World FITASC, it can be, nice, but typically it's a lot more bare bones
Hmm.
than that.
Interesting. I wouldn't have expected that.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we shot World Task, and
Then off
we
to
left
Western, right?
yeah, we left there and we went back to Chicago and we went to Game Unlimited. So we had left July, I don't know, 6th or something. We did England, we did Cyprus, we came back to Chicago, we did Game Unlimited. As soon as we came back from overseas, and this kind of goes to some of the things that I changed this year. As soon as we came back from overseas, I had gotten my new A400L, my
Mhm.
Beretta A400L earlier in the year, but I wasn't shooting it because I couldn't take it overseas with me because I didn't have it on my paperwork.
Oh, okay.
So as soon as I got back, I pulled the new A400L out and I wanted to start shooting it because I
And the
wanted to really.
A400L, what's different about it?
Yeah, so the A400L is a premium auto, okay, from Beretta. So we've got one of the major differences you're going to notice right away is the way it looks. So the receiver is uh, a nickel hardened receiver, and it's fully engraved. It's all laser engraved on both sides. It's very, very pretty. It's polished. It's really nice looking. They did an upgraded button. It's not a big giant rubber button. Traditional bolt handle. They did a full metal trigger group. So typically your metal or your trigger housing is plastic in your A400 Excel. In the A400L, it is all metal.
Okay.
Okay, so that's a big change. Another big change they put on is the barrel. So they have a Stellium Plus barrel on the A400L.
Hmm.
The A400 Excel does not have a Stellium barrel. Okay. So prior to that, we didn't have that option. Now we have the Stellium Plus on the new auto. The Stellium barrels are one thing Beretta is really known for.
Yeah.
They have all the Stellium barrels on the DT11s. Those are the pros, and on the new SL2, that's even longer. So those Stellium barrels are forcing cones on the internal diameter, and they're holding better patterns, right? They're giving you more consistent, more quality patterns out of that.
How
They
is
went
the
back
weight and
to a
balance
so
compared to your
I
other
feel
A400?
like I feel like with the metal trigger group, you feel a little bit more of an even balance.
Hmm.
And then I forgot to mention, so back up a little bit on the gun. The other major part of it is all the internals, so that bolt assembly that slides back and forth, all of that is DLC coded,
Oh, okay.
which it is not was not before.
Hmm.
So I honestly, I've been shooting this gun since Wisconsin. I honestly think that it operates better. It cycles smoother. So the literal function of the gun is better. One, the receiver is polished, right? It's hardened, and then all the internals are DLC coated, and you have that metal trigger housing. So it is a definite upgrade. Um, it does cost more, but it is a clear improvement on the
What's
automatic.
retail on it right now, if you don't mind me asking?
I
You
don't quote
know?
me on this, but I'm pretty sure it's is it right around 3,600,
Okay.
3,800, somewhere in there.
Hmm.
Don't quote me on that, but I think it's about
And
36. So,
DLC, what was that again? Diamond like carbon? What was it? What its
uh, yeah, I don't remember the
term on
you
it?
know,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
what
want to
it
say it was
stands
like
for, but
diamond like something, but I can't remember.
yeah, and Beretta's done the DLC coding on a few of their other guns. They have a DLC DT11.
Hmm.
Um, but it's a really high quality coating that they're doing now. And that goes a little bit, over the realm of my knowledge, but I do know that it helps with, metal on metal, any moving parts, wear and tear, things like that. So
Right.
so when we went to Wisconsin, I pulled out the A400L. So I took my stock off my regular XL and stuck it on that gun and went straight out of the gate with it. The other thing I changed right before I shot Wisconsin was my ammo load. When I was in England, I was having issues with recoil. The team shoots double A light handicaps, which is a 1 ounce 1290. And I tried to shoot those. And for me personally, there I was having a lot of recoil issues. I was coming out of the gun. I wasn't real calm. Um, and that affected me. And that I feel like that, really affected me kind of at both shoots. So, when I came back, I said, you know what? We had talked about it for a while, but I wanted to try it. Zach finally convinced me. He got the "I told you so" moment, and I went actually down to what I normally shot was a 1 ounce 1250, the Desi load, which is a great shell. I went down from that even, and I started shooting the extra light, which is a 1 ounce 1180.
Oh wow, really? Okay, so you went to a slower
Yeah.
shell.
Yes. So not only did I get a new auto, but I went to you know, one of the slowest double A's that they have, which
Hmm.
is the 1 ounce 1180, the extra light.
And what was your experience with it?
Well, first of all, I loved it because there was zero recoil. I was like, this is the best shotgun shooting experience of my life, right? I hate recoil. Um, and I got to shoot a few boxes in Chicago right before we went, and I just said, you know what? We're gonna give it a try. You don't have anything to lose, right? This is obviously an issue. This is obviously something that's been concerning you, and it's been affecting your performance. So what do you got to lose? So I went into that shoot and never even thought about the shells. I dumped them in my pocket. I shot all eights. I actually shot all eights at that shoot, which is kind of crazy to think about for me. Never thought about it and freaking shot awesome. I shot really well. So, right, it was a good test and a great result in that, look, this is a really, one, when you make a change, you're always hoping it's for the better. That's why you're making the change. But you never know how much of an impact it's going to have, and it had a huge impact on me.
Did you, aside from the recoil, did you feel any difference while you were making approach to the targets and things like that? I've talked to at least four people this year that have switched to going to slower shells, and they were
Hmm.
like amazed by how much of a difference it made. So it's kind of coincidence that you're bringing this up. And
Yeah.
I shot some slow shells earlier this year. While I didn't like it, I was hammering targets with them, and they had less recoil than my typical 1250 and up FPS shells. So
Right. Yeah, I didn't feel I don't see any difference in lead or
okay,
change or anything like that.
okay.
Now I haven't tried to shoot a, 95-yard target, but um uh, uh, I haven't seen any difference. I shoot exactly the same way I did. I do feel like there were some changes which I thought at first maybe were the ammo, but it turns out for me after, some more shoots, it was more of the gun and it was just kind of the weight because the weight of this auto is a little bit different than my other one. And I kind of had to learn how the gun finished. And what I mean when I say that is what is the gun, what are the characteristics of that gun feel like at the end of the shot?
Hmm.
Right? Do you have to really make sure? So in an auto, typically the end of the gun is a lot lighter. You've got to make sure that you're continuing that motion through the trigger because once you stop moving, the gun stops because there's
Right.
no momentum, there's no
Right.
continued weight and motion through there. So it turns out it was more of learning the gun and the way the gun finished than it was the ammo.
Right.
But that was the major change that I made, and Game Unlimited was the first shoot I did that at this year.
Okay. And then after
So
Game Limited, you went to regionals or something else.
we drove from Wisconsin, we drove over to Montana. We hung out in Wyoming with some good friends. We went back to Montana. We shot the Montana State, the U.S. Western Challenge. We went back to Wyoming, hung out there a little bit. Then we went to Idaho, which was the
Okay.
Western Regional. Um, I've shot in terrain before, so it was definitely a challenge. I think that was probably one of the biggest challenges for most people this year, just because it had terrain, and they did a really good job utilizing it. You shot a lot of variety in that. You shot below your feet, you shot up high.
Mhm.
The targets were definitely challenging. It can get windy out there, so we had some wind a few days. But it was a really good test for me because it was only the second regional I'd shot with the new gun and the new ammo. Um, so we did that and shot okay. Um, but I attribute to that more being just
Getting
really
it
fine
done, right?
tuning the new gear.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
No,
at that,
absolutely, dude. Yeah.
at
The part where you just said about the momentum piece of swinging the gun really resonated with me just now because the guy that was shooting behind me, Matthew Griffiths at the main for the Nationals, he kept telling me I was stopping the gun, and I was biffing it left and right. Desi, it was bad, but but I was barrel checking like a bastard. If I'm being honest, that was my
yeah.
concern. I was being way too careful. But I also switched from a Kohler, which was a 9.5 pound gun, to a Krieghoff Parkour, which is an 8.5 pound gun, and it's a major difference. It's a whole pound difference. It's way lighter, and the balance is different too. So
Yeah, the
I
front
just
end is
was.
way lighter.
It is. It
Yeah.
really is. I'm trying to get some weight on the end of it. I got some new chokes coming in to hopefully get some weight on the end of that and see if it'll balance me out a little bit. But to your point, adjustment is a huge thing. So at this shoot at Western Regional, it sounds like you shot okay. I didn't look up the result, but what were your takeaways from there? Just getting the feel for the gun.
Yeah, getting the feel for the gun, really trusting the ammo again, right? That first tournament, I really didn't think about it. This one, it was definitely in my mind more. I think that's just natural, right? When you change something. But um we had also already been on the road since July 1st by the time we shot the regional. So
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what the dates were of the Western, but
By that time, you were probably just done traveling, I'm sure.
we were pretty thick into this trip
Yeah.
and I could start to feel that fatigue.
Meaning
The
you hadn't been
fatigue of
home this was the 77 day towards the
yes.
end of it. Okay.
Yeah, so we I'm trying to
Two
write it
countries,
out.
multiple states, on the road
Mhm.
constantly.
Yep. Yeah, we were having a great time, right? We were loving it because we were out west, we were enjoying our friends, but I was starting to feel the fatigue a little bit. We had been gone almost 2 months at that point.
Yeah.
Um so I think that played a role in that tournament. So
So
we
Nick's
finally
place, I really like that place. I've only been once. I don't remember how I shot there. I think I did okay, but nothing great. Nothing, actually, no, I did terrible. What am I talking about? But I enjoyed his place. I feel like depth perception plays a role there, and that's one of my eye weaknesses. And I know
Mhm.
you and I have similar astigmatism numbers at least, and I don't know if it's the same type of eye issues, but I do remember
Mhm.
one time you were coaching me. you knew exactly what my eyes were doing. Like you were one of the first people to kind of like recognize what I saw when I was shooting. So I'm assuming how was depth perception for you there?
It can be more of a challenge for sure when you're shooting off cliff, right? It's a challenge for anybody, no matter kind of the eyes. What I struggle with out there, because we both kind of struggle with the astigmatism and dry eyes.
Yeah, me too.
So when you have dry eyes out there, the West is dry, right? You just notice it. Your skin gets drier, right? Your nose, your eyes get drier, and you have to do twice as much work to keep them at a normal feeling. When your eyes get dry, they're going to get more blurry. They're going to get more fatigued. They're going to get tired. They're not going to operate as good as they could, right?
What do
In
you
other
do?
conditions. I have to double down on eye drops. I use eye drops like they're candy.
Really?
And that's just what I have to do.
What are
I'm
you
a girl,
using?
right? I use Refresh.
Okay.
Eye doctor, I can't remember the exact one. My eye doctor, Dr. Stephen Means out of Huntsville. He recommended them for me. They're just individual packets, so they're easy to travel with. Being a girl, I don't wear makeup. Like at that moment, right? When my eyes are getting dry, I don't put anything on my eyes to like further exacerbate the issue. Um, Different things you can do are like warm compresses at night, which I'm not always very good about.
I
But
just
you
started doing
you
those.
just
Yeah.
have to work. You just have to work harder at keeping your eyes,
So are you putting
from
drops
drying out.
in on the course or
Oh
before?
yeah,
Okay.
oh yeah. I'd put drops in 2 or 3 times during a course.
Really?
Oh yeah,
And you
yeah.
don't find that that makes you more because my eyes are always they're dry, but because they're dry, they over tear, if that makes sense. And so it
Okay.
always looks like I'm crying. Always
Yeah.
looks like I got tears in my eyes, you know.
Yeah.
And right now, I mean, right now I feel like a tear, forming in this one right here where it just feels very watery. So, and that causes blurriness, blurred vision. So
Yep.
even when you're doing the drops, to get it. So hydration was. My doctor told me hydration had a big part to do with it
Oh
too.
yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, hydration has a part even when you're not in dry
right,
conditions. And yeah, when you go out west, you just have to double down on it. More
right.
electrolytes, more salt, more water. Um,
Okay.
so I think part of the depth perception has issues to do with that on the eyes, and people just don't shoot in that kind of terrain very often. You have to experience it. You have to get better at it, just like you do lots of different things. Some people are used to shooting in the desert, some people are used to shooting in the pine trees, some people are used to shooting in dark green backgrounds, some people are not. If you're not used to shooting in terrain, you're not going to read the bird as well.
Yeah, what do you think it is about that, right? Like, why can't you adjust to a different terrain change? Because I have to imagine it has something to do with the depth. And I know I was talking to Ed Lyons about this in an interview, and he was just saying it's like you're saying, you just have to kind of be used to shooting that way or see reading the line that way. How does
Yeah,
one develop that used to other than just experience? Like, can you I get foreground, midground, and background can kind of throw things off.
yeah,
But something that came up during five stand that kind of opened me up to how some of the pros look at this. Braxton Oliver was explaining how he judges distance to me while we were shooting,
yeah,
not while we are shooting, but in between five stands, and I was just shocked about how much thought he had already put into that, and I wasn't even thinking about distance. He goes, "Well, look at
right,
this. We're standing at a trap field." We're past the 27-yard line. The trap house is 16, 16 from the front. And then if you go look at that little wall over there, that's probably about 30 yards out. So he's like thinking through all these things for the depth perception. Is that kind of what you're doing as you're looking at terrain and you're taking all those things into consideration?
yeah. Uh, I think, to put it simply, more experience, but what experience gives you is it gives you information. So it
Hmm.
gives you characteristics, right? I'm not thinking of a trap field. Everybody tries to use an analogy because that's what you're used to, right? For Braxton, it might be a trap field. For some,
We were on
people,
a trap field though for that five stand, so that's why he was using
okay. Yeah,
that as
so
the
he's using
markers.
that.
Yeah.
Depth to me, distance to me is not necessarily the most important.
Hmm.
Okay. And Obviously it impacts the shot. So at a very high level, yes, that matters. But I think more people make a mistake on angle and speed than they do on distance.
Yeah.
And those two factors are a big have a bigger impact on the shot,
No,
right?
I think you're 100% right. So Ed
So,
touched on this too. He said,
yeah.
look, depth is not as important people think because there's one-eyed shooters out there.
Yeah.
And when they don't have that eye, they don't have the depth that you do with the two-eye shot. But what
Yeah.
you're used to seeing is the bird-barrel relationship. And that sight picture is more important than actually knowing the depth of
Yeah.
something. And I'm putting words in his mouth, but that's essentially at least the conclusion I got from our conversation.
Yeah, and when you shoot on flat ground a lot, you're not necessarily thinking about up and down as much.
Mm,
It's a little more straightforward. You can clearly tell when the bird is going up and clearly tell when the bird is going down because
yeah,
it's a flat surface. When you get an unflat surface and they start throwing targets parallel to the line of the ground, right? You're not used to having to add that into the information that you're analyzing,
that's
right?
right.
You're not typically going, oh, so this bird is following the ground. Oh, wait, but the ground is going down. Okay. Or, oh, wait, the ground is going up. Or, right, you're just, that's not part of your, the usual things you think about when you're analyzing something. So I
Mhm.
think that has a big impact on it. Um, I think it's just intimidating. So people don't kind of, go through the basic steps. Okay, what's the angle of the bird? What's the speed of the bird? What's the distance of the bird? Okay, how would I normally approach this? What kind of things might I have to do? I don't know if people are as comfortable working from under the bird as much. Um, Consistently, right? When you're shooting in terrain, you're shooting below your feet a lot. You have to get more comfortable with that. So I think that just kind of slips people's minds a little bit more. But that's what experience does, right? Experience gives you moments that you're going to fail at and succeed at, and gives you more information.
Yeah.
The more information that you have to analyze the shot, the closer to the answer you're going to
And
be.
the more confident you'll be, right? Even if you're wrong,
Right.
at least you're going in with confidence sometimes.
Right. So, people who don't shoot birds that go down a big ravine, they're going, well, I don't know what to do. I've never seen that bird. Well, that's why the process is so important about making a game plan, about analyzing each step of the bird, right? Angle,
Right.
speed, distance, different tricks. When you call pull and the target goes in the air, count. How long does it take to hit the ground? That gives you an idea of time, right? If it's going from this canyon, this side of the canyon, all the way over to this side of the canyon, that's a big distance and it's getting there pretty quickly. It might be going faster than you think.
Hmm.
It just doesn't look fast because we're in this big wide open space. So there's definitely tricks that you can learn, that will give you some more of that information. But that's the beauty of the championship tour. That's why I was super excited to go to Nick's this year. It adds another level of the tour. It adds
Yeah.
another experience for people,
Hmm.
right? We shot in Game Unlimited, has some terrain. We shot at Providence, has a little bit. We shot in Idaho, definitely has some terrain. We shot at Rick Hemingway's out of Backwoods, very flat, different background. So we're changing these tour stops drastically with characteristics of background and terrain and things like that. And that's what makes it challenging.
Yeah.
You can't just be good at one thing. You've got to be good in a lot of different scenarios.
Let me ask you about that. So then after Idaho, there was Covey Rise, South Central Regional.
Yep.
What's that like? I've never been out there.
Covey Rise is very flat.
Okay.
Louisiana, it's a very flat place. One of the main roads that we shoot two of the main events on, it's pretty high grasses. So
Okay.
the traps are typically, pretty hidden. You can't see the actual trap, but we're shooting on very flat ground. Everything's really up in the air. One of the main events that they've got has a little bit more terrain, some ups and downs. There's a little bit more vegetation. There's some treed spots. There's a pond that they kind of have to work with. So one of the main events there, you're going to get a little bit more variety. Um, Joe Pinchin, I think he set all the targets there. He did a great job. The targets were great. They were very challenging, but they were fair. And it was good. It was very good.
And then what? So how'd you do that at that tournament?
I shot horrible,
Okay.
absolutely horrible. So I knew in my mind we were at the end of this trip, right?
Yeah.
We were going to shoot Louisiana. We were going to go over to Houston, shoot the Diamond Classic, and then I got to go home.
Okay.
So we were on like the last 2 week stretch. I was tired. I was exhausted. Not that I didn't want to see my friends and not that I didn't want to go compete, but I just was not
That's
mentally
a long
there.
time to be away from home. Yeah.
Yep. I was not mentally there and it showed. It 100% reflected in my attitude and it reflected in my, you know, um, perseverance and persistence and intensity, and it just was not there.
And you didn't feel like at that point you're not blaming the gun, you're not blaming the ammo
No.
or the change there. You just knew it was you and you weren't putting
Yeah,
it
I mean,
100%
and I
into
knew that because I was really successful at Game Unlimited, right?
yeah.
First tournament ever with the brand new equipment. So I know it works.
Right. Right.
It was definitely me.
Okay.
Zach wasn't able to shoot that. Zach actually messed up his eye really bad. He had some issues with the contact, and long story short, it scratched his eye pretty bad. And by the time he got the contact out and was able to let it breathe, the damage kind of had already been done. So he didn't shoot Louisiana at all. He couldn't shoot for about a week, week and a half, because he couldn't see out of his one of his eyes. So we were just dealing with a lot of different things on the road all at once, and it just didn't go well.
So before the Nationals, you shoot Southeast Regional then, and that was at Backwoods Quail Club, and this is Rick
Yep.
Hemingway's place.
Yep. Yep.
So prep that was just a couple weeks before the Nationals. So what did you tell yourself for that shoot? Are you preparing yourself, or are you getting you're like, all right, look, yeah, I had a poor Cubby Rise South Central Regional. We got Nationals coming up. Now we're at Southeast Regional. You had a little bit of time to go home for a little bit, I'm assuming, right?
We were home for I think like 5 days.
Okay.
Yeah,
So you were
four or
home
five
for a few
days.
days, got at
Yep.
least a couple nights sleep though in your own bed. You head over to Backwoods, and then how are you preparing for nationals now? Or are you?
Well, anybody who's shot at backwoods knows that Rick is not afraid to hurt your feelings on targets.
Yeah.
He throws an incredible shoot. The amenities are awesome. The quality of the way the shoot is run is great. Fantastic club, but he's not afraid to hurt your feelings when it comes to target set. So we knew it was going to be hard, right?
Mhm.
It's been hard the last few times we've gone there when he threw the US Open. So knowing that going in, I think is a benefit. I think it's a definite advantage knowing that it's going to be a grind, that everyone's going to be missing, that you've got to be on your A game because you don't go into that situation with, different expectations.
Mhm.
You don't go in and all of a sudden get to stand one and there's, a true pair of 65-yard crossers and you go, oh shit. Like what am I got myself into? So I was really excited to go there right before nationals because I knew I could really start to fine tune things. I could really practice the the details of shooting that you would need to be at the top, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And if you do well there, you're shooting good, right?
Yeah.
You earned every bit of it. So I was excited that it was going to be tough. Um, I shot, I shot okay. Um, I was still pretty tired, so like physically, I was a little sore in terms of like just tight. My body's a little tired. We'd only been home for like 5 days. I knew that we had quite a big month coming up. So I don't know if I was as physically prepared as I wanted to be, but the mindset was there, which I enjoyed, and I shot okay. Um, but I knew nationals was my goal. So I wasn't as concerned with placement at that shoot. I just
Yeah, tell
wanted
me
to,
about that. So it sounds like even as a pro, you guys set expectations for yourselves, right? Like, okay, look, this is going to be Rick's targets. I'm going to get my feelings hurt a little bit. Most of us are going to miss. Where a novice might go and being like, I got to kick ass, take names, and when they get their ass kicked, pardon my French, but then they
right.
they devolve and get worse, right?
Yeah, the sky
Um,
is falling,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's
When
like,
in reality, it was always going to fall for them anyways. But um, you know that you're shooting okay. You're starting to get your groove back a little bit. But this is really a prep for nationals, which you came in ladies runner up for nationals
yeah.
in the main, which is a huge accomplishment as well. So, did you feel like going from Southeast Regional to nationals, you were ready? Were you still tired, or did you get a little bit of rest in between?
No, I think I was a little more ready.
Yeah.
We really weren't home that much. I think we got back from Rick's. Well, after Rick's, I had to go do a Beretta Ladies event, and then I drove in Tennessee, and then I drove to Illinois, and I did a Winchester Experience
Oh,
event,
that's
and then
right.
I
Yeah.
drove home, and then I left for nationals like 3 days later. So I really wasn't home that much more, but I did feel more prepared. I did feel a little bit rested, just knowing I can go home, I can repack my things, I can kind of, sit in my coffee chair in the morning and get my mind right. And I just felt more prepared shooting after shooting the Southeast Regional. I wasn't expecting my game to be the best there because I had shot some really bad scores in Louisiana. I was trying to use that shoot to be ready for
Hmm.
nationals.
I
And it helped.
noticed I've been to three nationals then. I've seen you at each one, and I noticed at this nationals you were in a good mood. Now I don't know if it was because of the
Yeah.
Hall of Fame part.
Oh, for sure. That definitely helped.
You had
Yeah.
friends and family and people there to support you earlier in the week, but you went into it really happy. And I remember seeing you. What was it? Was it Saturday night or Friday night? I bumped into you, and
Yeah.
you were just in a good mood, and I could tell that you were vibing and you were feeling it. So, do you think that contributed to your whole success?
Yeah, I mean, nationals is exciting for me. I always enjoy it. And yeah, I was in a really good mood because I did feel more prepared.
Yeah.
I did. Well, I didn't. I obviously you don't know, right, what the results were going to be. I wasn't necessarily expecting numbers in my mind, but I felt good, and I don't know. I just knew that if I did everything I was supposed to do, that we would be in the hunt. We would be there on Sunday. I don't know how I knew that. Obviously the Hall of Fame helps. My being having my family there, I love it. It's great. It's like one big family reunion when you go to nationals.
Yeah.
You get to see, and you were there, I get to see people that I only get to see once a year at that shoot. So
Right.
it
No,
makes
it
me
was a good
happy.
time, and that event was also pretty nice. Brett Sieber also got inducted in the
Yep.
Hall of Fame, very well deserved for him as well. I got to meet him finally in
Hmm.
person. We did an interview, but I haven't really met him in person before. I actually no, that's not true. I saw him at the World English in 2019, but we didn't know each other at the time. But nice guy. Really glad to see him get inducted as well. And then Larry Potterfield and his wife also got inducted, which I
Yep.
thought was nice. Uh,
Yeah, it was an awesome night, and I was surprised the Seabirds were so contained, right? Because just in terms of the jokes, right? Their whole family, they're pretty witty, so I think they kept it all under wraps, and but we had a great night. It was awesome. I think everyone obviously is well deserving of all of the awards, and I enjoyed spending, sharing the night with those people who were honored.
nice.
Yeah.
So let's now that we're on nationals, let's talk about nationals. You get
Yeah.
in, you've got the Hall of Fame. Is it a distraction a little bit, or
A
is it
little
like
bit.
okay, yeah, right? I mean, it's like
Yeah, a little
one
bit.
extra thing to think about before you have to compete. Fortunately, it was before you started competing, right? Or no, you
No,
started shooting Thursday morning. Yeah,
yeah, it was Thursday. And we've gone to the Hall of Fame banquet in the past. Obviously, Zach went in 2 years ago. Um, but when you have to prepare for it, yeah, it's a little bit more work. Nationals for us is a lot of work.
yeah,
We
I bet.
literally have something going on every night. We have
Yeah,
a big group dinner Tuesday. I got national delegate meeting Wednesday. We got Hall of Fame Thursday. We got Top Gun Friday. Saturday, sometimes we do the North versus South. And then Sunday we have to finish the shoot. So there's no rest for the wicked at nationals. Like it is full go all the time. It was a little bit of a distraction, but in a good way, right? I truly was. I was really looking forward to it. I mean, I'm very honored and blessed, and um, I was excited.
So this is your 20th then? 20th nationals?
Yes.
This is your 20th nationals. Okay. So
Yes.
what have you learned about competing in nationals, considering that
Yeah.
you have to do all these things, right? What I learned,
So,
I'll tell you very quickly, is not to
yeah.
eat McDonald's every single morning before I go.
Yeah.
Because by the end of the week, I'm just a sausage McMuffin myself.
Yeah.
Zach is like, nah, he's like plenty of champions to win eating
Yeah.
McDonald's. And I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I need to get some veggies in there, I think, going forward. But
Right.
how do you, what's your management process for your body and yourself and mentally?
Yeah, so it was kind of funny actually. At the moment just popped into my mind. Kevin, I can't remember. I'm drawing a blank on Kevin's last name. He's a FITASC referee. He's been refereeing for a long time. Great guy. But every time in I don't know exactly how it started, but at one point, so Kevin always has information, random information. Fun fact of the day is what I call it. So every time I would see Kevin on the FITASC course, I would always come up to him and go, okay, what do you have for me today, Kevin? What's Kevin's fun fact of the day? And he only does that with me or the squad I'm with or whatever. I love it. But and in the past, sometimes it's information about where we're at or the area or certain animals or I don't know, just random information that somehow is cool. So when we went this year, Kevin was very sweet and he did Desi trivia. That was his fun fact. So he asked the squad, well, he asked me first. He said, what was your first registered event? And I was
Oh,
thinking,
okay.
oh my God, I don't actually know. Like, I don't remember. And I was really close. But it happened to be a 5 stand event at
Oh,
Rabbit
he
Creek.
knew, but you didn't know.
Yeah. I mean, I don't remember the first registered event. It was some local event, so he had looked it up. And so that was my question. And he told me about that. And then he asked the squad, he said, how many targets has Desi shot at the National Shooting Complex? Because I had been going for 20 years. This was my 20th year, and not consecutively, but 20 years. And I had no idea, right? We were all just guessing. So it turns out I've shot over 13,000 targets on that property.
Wow.
So in my mind at the moment, I'm thinking, God damn, I should be able to hit more because I've shot every conceivable angle and speed and target that they could possibly throw on this property, right? So it was kind of just a moment that I remember thinking about. But that's why Nationals is so special because even though we've been there that many times, it's still a challenge, right? Mike Logos, I think he said this was his 27th Nationals before he finally got that title. So even if you know what to do, even if you've done it, it is still challenging. It is still hard. So we stay at the same place. We're very comfortable with that. We've got certain places we like to eat. We kind of have a little bit more of a routine. I don't think that impacts the shooting as much, just because it is a familiar place. That's not necessarily the hard part. It's the mindset.
Yeah.
Yep, getting in that right mindset and being able to execute on those days that you need to execute. So we do a pretty good job of making sure we get dinner and getting in bed at a decent hour. And I'm not as young as I once was, so I don't live quite as wild and free as we used to. Um, but
Meaning you don't stay out late, or what do you
yeah,
mean?
yeah, 10
Drinking?
o'clock
Yeah.
rolls around and I look at Zach and I go, I'm kind of tired. Can we go to bed? Where before I'm like, oh, it's 10 o'clock, the night is young. Um, so we definitely, are getting older, so we do better with that. But it was kind of business as usual for a lot of things. My parents did not stay with us this year. Usually they stay with us, and we found out that we don't like that because my mom is a huge help for us. Whether that be, karting because we have two vehicles then, or, we'll forget a shirt because Zach's got to do an interview or I got to do an interview. And I'm like, hey, mom, can you run and grab this shirt? And moms are superheroes for sure, and she's got extra food at the hotel, at the, resort room, and she's got breakfast for us. And, that she wasn't there this year. So I felt like I was, a little kid trying to remember how to do it all again. So I definitely think I'm gonna steal my mom again and make sure she stays with us next year. But
They were there at the Hall of Fame dinner. Uh,
yeah.
what was their take on the whole thing?
Oh my gosh, I love my parents. They're amazing. My mom was so emotional. She goes crying and talking about all this, and I love it. I'm not saying it in a bad way. Diane, right? Diane Sorrentino, love her dearly. She's been a longtime friend, and her and my mom and I have had a lot of adventures together. So Diane was being super helpful. She was, corralling my mom and making sure she wasn't, you know bawling your eyes out the whole time and kind of talking her off the ledge thing. So that was really sweet. But it was it was very emotional for them. They've put in, you know, as much work as I have, right?
Yeah.
Parents, it takes a village, and parents, go unnoticed sometimes because it's just kind of the assumption. But um
How did Dad take it?
he was very good. He was more nervous than I was the whole week, and he's always that nervous at nationals. Oh my gosh, he gets more nervous for the shooting than any of us do. Um, so he was good though. He really enjoyed it, and um, I mean I don't know. I'd have to you'd have to ask him yourself, but he's very proud. I felt it. I know he loves me. I love him, and they're awesome.
That's great.
Yeah.
Going back to nationals and the courses, what did you like about the courses? What courses you actually do this? Rank the courses for you, hardest to easiest.
Hardest to easiest? I would say, to be honest, I think the orange course was the most demanding. It required more out of the shooter than even the green course. So I bet if I look back, because I haven't looked at numbers, but I bet if I looked back, scores were probably pretty similar on the
Okay.
two. For different reasons, right? Green course, you had a few stands that you had to really, buckle down on. Orange course was pretty consistent throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you had more stations that took a lot of attention to detail than that. So I would say orange, then green, then yellow, then red in terms of level of difficulty.
So can I ask you about that? Maybe you could put on your coach's hat on for a second for me. So I came in shooting orange on Thursday, and for me, that was my
Mhm.
best shot course.
Okay.
I did not feel like it was difficult at all. I mean, I dropped 14 targets, but for me, considering as little as I've shot all year, that was what was to be expected in my mind.
Hmm.
So then I go and shoot. I think we shot yellow after that.
Hmm.
Was it yellow? Yeah, yellow then green, or green and then yellow. I can't remember which order we went in. Green was a butt kicker for me. That was
Yep.
definitely one that I didn't shoot well, but I didn't shoot horribly again, considering my level. And then everyone kept telling me red and yellow was going to be easy. So I'm like, cool. Like, I got through the tough stuff already. I'm going to shoot the easy. And I shot worse on those
Yeah.
courses, like as if they were harder than the other courses. And I'm like, how is this even possible? So
All right.
give me an excuse that I could use, Desi, about why I suck.
There's no such thing as easy. There's just less hard.
Yeah.
And easy to some is not easy to others. It depended on conditions. I think this year the pro squad actually got the best conditions of the entire nationals.
Yeah.
The courses, when we shot the courses and the days we shot them, I think we shot in the best conditions of the whole entire shoot. I
Mhm.
know Monday it was blowing like crazy, so people had to buckle down and get through that, which was really rough. They were different. Yellow, I think can be a challenge sometimes. Reading targets, so you're out in an open field again. Sometimes people misjudge things. Different style. I feel like you had a lot of more time on yellow. You weren't really rushed on anything, but
Yeah.
that plays into, better visual discipline, looking hard at the bird when you need to, not too early. Um, you definitely needed to know how to control a bird. I mean, you need to be able to control something. Red is always going to be, I think, on the less hard side, just by nature of where that course is. It's very tight. You don't have very big open windows. big spaces. So there's going to be a lot more quartering birds, trap birds, incomers, things like that, which aren't necessarily easy. They're just not as, as big.
Mhm.
The orange to me had more variety, had the most variety.
Yeah, I really liked
You
it.
had you had to be able to shoot quickly, bang bang. You had to be aggressive at times. You had to be really patient at times. You had to be able to run with a bird at times. You had to be able to go to a spot and fire at times. So there was a big variety on orange that if you had a flaw, I think it might have shown up more than on the other two courses we had shot. Green was definitely a challenge. Obviously, you've got a lot of speed on a couple pairs. You've got a lot of edge. I feel like green had more edge than some of the other courses. We started on stand one, edge pair from the right. Then you got a really tough bat, and it was, you saw the dome, but it was a pretty good crosser. That was stand two. Then you got an edge rabbit going away on stand three. Then you got an edge, crossers right and left on four.
Mhm.
And then you came back around and you got an edge pair, again, report pair. You had a long crosser and a tower midi. Then you got another edge bird off of a tower. So you had to really be on your game with that. And then obviously the last stand, everybody knows stand 10 there. That was a pretty serious pair. Um, but that's kind of an example of that last stand, stand 10, that I would say, right?
How much do you
Harden.
think stamina plays a role? Because I think for me, at least the excuse I'm going to give myself is that came in on Thursday, flew in Wednesday night or drove in Wednesday night from Austin, um, shot Thursday orange, and I was fresh, very fresh, felt good,
Mhm.
fresh, no expectations, just having fun. I'm here at Nationals, shot for me again well on the orange, and then I just got progressively worse. And I'm wondering if it has anything to do with stamina and my ability to kind of day after day after day shoot because I hadn't done that all year. Actually, the
Right,
last 2 years, and even these multi-day shoots, I've only gone for one day when I
right.
compete locally. So, does that play a role, stamina, and your ability to kind of
Yeah,
stay focused over multiple days?
yeah, that's no question. It's a
Okay.
marathon, not a sprint. Absolutely. I think a lot of people, well, on this pro squad, I think a lot of us struggled on Saturday. Some of us are tired, right?
Yeah.
And maybe not physically, maybe, might be mentally, might be physically, whatever. But it's hard to shoot for 4 days. World Task is 4 days, right? The US Open is 3 days now. Some of these regionals are turning into 3 days, but shooting good for 4 days in a row is hard. It takes a lot of stamina. It takes a lot of mental stamina, and it takes a lot of physical stamina. Um, People say, oh, well, you only have to be good for 75 targets. Yeah, but you have to do that every day for 4 days. Like it's
And
really
that's only
hard
and
to
that's if you're not even competing in other tournament events as well, which
yeah,
most
it's
people
really hard
are.
to replicate. I think it's more common where someone's going to get hot one day, but they're not going to be able to, you know, sustain that.
Mhm.
The replication of it is the hard part. So yeah, I think that the level of shooting that I saw, and I know Zach said the same thing, the level of shooting that we saw at nationals this year was freaking incredible.
Yeah,
The
it had to have been.
scores
Yeah,
that these people are posting is
right.
just freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Like he has been shooting it longer than I have, but I remember some of these birds, and he said the exact same thing, but some of these birds they thrown out, like that used to be the hard stand. And now that's not the hard stand anymore. Um I obviously shot with the ladies. Shelby Moon, who are,
Yeah.
current
Lady
national
champion.
ladies champion, shot awesome all freaking week. I mean,
Hmm.
she was a beast. She shot great, not only in the main event, but the side events. So she podiumed in the fee task overall. She podiumed in the five stand overall. I think she took fourth in the main event.
Yeah.
So she shot incredible.
He tied for
Uh,
fourth with Gavin Miles and
yeah.
Brandon. So she's shooting up there with Brandon and Gavin at that
Mhm.
event, and she was only behind six from Mike Wilgus, who was the national champion. So
Yep.
not very far behind there. And
Yeah.
that's an interesting thing to bring up because I mean I don't know how to say this without offending. I think I'm going to offend some people, and you know where I'm coming from on this, Desi. Historically, I think people thought that the women couldn't compete with the men historically and score wise. And I think that is absolutely being blown out of the water and changing now. I would say in the last, what, 4 years, maybe 5 years? And
Hmm.
now you're starting to see women competitors really up there with everybody else. And when I say everybody else, the other male competitors. When do you think we're going to see a lady HOA over everyone?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, that question is to me it's a little bit of just an open-ended question. Look, I think it's a numbers game. I think it's a experience thing. These girls that we have shooting now, I mean the whole basically Team USA, Karen and Madison and Shelby and a few others that have snuck in there. They've been shooting for a long time now,
Mhm.
or long enough. They're gaining more experience, and you have to have that in this game. The coaching, the information is better than it ever has been, and the more women that are shooting, right, the odds go up. So I don't know when that's going to happen. They've always been knocking on the door. Um, it's just a matter of, you know,
And then when you say
the right
they,
weekend.
you're included in that, by the way, but
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So I think, it's closer than ever. But we could say the same thing, about the juniors shooting. I mean, we've
Mhm.
had juniors up at the top of the list more, I feel like, than we ever have. So, shooters are getting better faster. I'm not saying that they're better than what people have always been. I'm just saying they're doing it at a faster rate.
Right.
Um, and experience is important. So the more experience they're getting in, shorter periods of time, they're going to be shortening that curve up. So Shelby shot awesome. I'm seeing more and more women being more competitive. And it's great to see. It's great for the sport. It's great for the ladies. It's great for spectators. It's great for competitors. All around, there's no negative to it. The Georgia State GIAA, or I don't remember the acronym, but the Georgia State High School Championship. They just had at Forest City this last weekend, and a female, Savannah Scarisbrook, she won. She shot high score out of 530 shooters in the state of Georgia. We have a lot of really good shooters, youth shooters in the state of Georgia. They shoot trap, skeet, and sporting clays at the high school state championship. And she shot 287. That was the high score. So, I mean, in 2 weeks, I've seen two ladies, either at the HAA or on the podium, right in the
That's
mix.
awesome.
So,
Yeah,
and
well, and not to dismiss FETASC, I want to talk about FETASC in the course there because oof and a half, that was crazy. But Shelby shot at 91 there, which was
yeah,
only one off from high overall.
yeah,
And FETASC this year, I felt like was one of the harder FETASCs.
yeah.
I shot it very, very poorly, but again, I'm not shooting well. We shouldn't even be bringing me up, but but I'm just curious your thoughts. What did you think about the targets there? I remember you saying it
Um,
was no joke, but
yeah, I think we saw
yeah.
more edge and speed than we have. The skeet field side, because the last couple years Feach has been over there, or however many years, skeet field side typically, you might see a little more edge, but I feel like we had more edge, more speed. Um, you have to hit the weather right. Depends on when the wind's blowing. That makes a big impact
Or if
on
you're
it.
shooting into the sun or yeah.
Yeah, so you've got to hit that right. But I think overall at this nationals, I would say there was more edge than we've shot in the past.
Mhm.
The five stand was brutal.
Oh, yeah.
And
The Master
that
A,
wasn't
yeah.
necessarily just because of edge, because they definitely showed you belly or dome on that. But good
It was a
Lord,
good five stand though. I really
it
enjoyed
was
it, but
hard.
Louise, did I
You
shoot
had
terrible.
you had a lot of distance, you had a lot of speed, and you had some pairs. I mean,
Yeah,
pairs were butt kickers on that five stand throughout the whole thing. There
yeah.
wasn't one layout that was better than another. It was just consistent from station one, five stand one to station five of four.
Yeah. No, it was
Um,
great. What were your takeaways from all this? Like, do you ever walk away from these going like, I hadn't seen something like that before. Next year, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to go train on this. Like, what were your takeaways from your nationals?
yeah, I mean, in my own shooting, I've got to get more comfortable with speed. speed and timing, right? I don't like to shoot quickly.
Yeah, same.
That's not something I can and I do when I need to, but I'm not really comfortable with it. So I need to definitely practice that in my own shooting. Um, and again
Can
this
I ask
year,
you about that real quick, just before we move on
yeah.
from there? So when I first started, I didn't wear glasses, and I used to shoot very quickly, like almost too quickly. Everyone always tell me to slow down, and as my eyes deteriorated, I've slowed down. But also, it's because you and Zach have also taught me how to stay with the bird longer, because there's going to be times you're going to need to stay with the bird longer too. And so I think I
Hmm.
gotten used to just staying with the bird and being able to ride it and hit it in places that before I wasn't. Um, but do you think it's because your eyes maybe getting worse that you're not picking it up as fast, or do you think it has anything to do with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think some of that, yeah. I mean, my eyes aren't the greatest, right? But I I can't use that as an excuse, right? I truly I don't think it's about who can see the best. I think it's about who can execute the best.
Right.
So who can keep their eye on the bird the best, not who
Mhm.
can see it the best, who can keep their eye on the bird the best. Um, in my own shooting, I think being uncomfortable shooting quickly has more to do with um
Trust.
kind of a mental process and yeah, for lack of a better term, fear. It's wanting to be in control,
Yeah.
right? I want to be in control of that moment that I'm pulling the trigger as opposed to kind of, sending the shot the moment that it's good. I want to hold that moment. I like to have that, extra bit of confidence when I pull the trigger. And
Hmm.
there's shots that you can't do that on. You've got to send it. When
Right.
it's, as soon as you're there, you've got to send it. And again, I can do it. I do it at times when I need to, but it's not my favorite thing to do.
Sure.
So I need to be more comfortable doing that.
Fair.
Yeah. I
That
think
was a
that
big
also
one.
plays, yeah, I think that plays into my mental process a little bit too, which I've struggled with this year and I'm still learning. I have a lot of takeaways to go into next year. But when I bring to our point earlier, our conversation earlier, when I bring the plan too much into the routine, I'm not letting that shot off when I need to.
Right.
I'm taking an extra heartbeat to be extra confident and it's hurting me
Right.
because I've already gotten to hard focus. I've already gotten to the moment. I've already made the move and I need to send it.
So is it a trust thing and because what I noticed is I lacked a lot of trust. I have a new gun. I lost a little bit of weight since I got the gun fitted to me. So in the back of my mind, I'm thinking that it's shooting differently. I swear like I'm floating targets massively in order to hit them.
Hmm.
So that's in my head. So for me, it was a trust thing this year. So
Yeah.
trusting my gun, not shooting it much. Do you feel like trust is something that you're going back and forth between, or?
Yeah, I think trust is a very simple word to describe what's happening,
Yeah, yeah.
right? It's more detailed than that.
Okay.
But that is that's one of the adjectives I would use to help kind of define that moment.
Okay.
But why aren't we trusting it? What aren't we trusting? It's more detailed than that.
Hmm.
Just to say, oh, just trust it. Well, if you don't know what you're doing, I don't know how you trust it. It's like, so that's a simple synopsis to maybe a little bit more of a detailed answer.
Hmm.
But yeah, yeah, it's not trusting it. Yeah, you're not pulling the trigger when you should.
Hmm. Yeah, I wonder about that. I feel like I do the same thing. That's why I'm curious and wanted to dive a little deeper into that. I attribute it to my eyes.
Hmm.
I remember something that you told me that was kind of a game changer for me is when your central vision locks in and you slow down the target with your eyes, where you see clearly and it's slowed down from this blur into this like thing that you could track. That's when you're locked in and you could pull the trigger. And I tend to stick with that longer, that motion of slowing it down before I pull the trigger.
Yeah.
Where before I would see it come in and I just make the move and I make a move. But I think I'm also at that point spot shooting and I'm not actually locked in. I'm just kind of
Yeah, replication
imagining the
becomes very
trajectory.
difficult. Yeah,
Yeah.
replication becomes very difficult at that point. It's not that you can't
Yes.
break the target, but can you do it 3 and 4 times in a row?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
Because you're shooting
I
the
think
trajectory rather than the actual target.
Yeah, I think shooting at a faster pace is a little different visually in terms of this traditional sense of like soft into hard focus, right? When I have lots of time or enough time that I'm comfortable with, I'm going from good soft focus, picking up motion. I've got a good bird barrel relationship, and I can really zoom in so I can progress into that hard focus at a pretty casual rate,
Mm,
for lack of a better word,
mhm.
given the amount of time the shot, the presentation gives me. On a shot, usually when we're talking more speed, I'm talking a little bit bigger leads, right? Not necessarily a fast trap bird or a fast quartering bird, but a fast crosser. Birds that take some space, that take some lead, that have some speed on them. And I need to do a better job of seeing a big picture and being a little more spatial in terms of my visual effort than this traditional progression into hard focus, right? If I'm looking at that target that hard for that moment of time, chances are my hands are slowing, my hands are, the bird is creeping in on me. That space that I started with is shrinking, and I'm not seeing it. I'm not realizing it. And I need to learn how to shoot with a little bit better spatial
Mhm.
vision. So, soft focus, again, when you call pull, you know, recognizing where the gun's at, where I'm first seeing the bird, and keeping that big picture throughout
Yeah.
the shot.
So more using
You know,
more of your periphery vision before you lock in with
yeah.
central.
Because
Yeah.
when the gun and the bird have to be so far apart,
Yeah.
you, you can't you can't be so hard focused over here because you're going to lose track of this. It's so
Yes.
far away visually. So
Yep.
you have to be able to see more of a bigger picture, kind of
That totally makes
holding
sense.
it.
And
It's
I
not
think that's
soft
what caught
focus,
me
but
barrel checking all week.
yeah.
Because I was hard focused on the target before it even came into my
Yep.
barrel vision.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So
no, that,
so
that
in
that's
that
actually
case,
really good. I
yeah, in that
appreciate it.
case, I feel like you're probably just looking too hard at the bird too early.
Yeah.
But in terms of speed and space, you need to be able to hold that space for a moment. When that space is correct, you've got to be able to send the shot.
Yeah.
And I like to have that extra bit of visual on the bird, that extra bit of detail. Well, that extra bit of detail that I'm trying to get in that time, my hands are slowing down, the space is getting smaller,
The
and
target's
I'm
transitioning maybe even.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm missing behind, or I'm, slightly missing the line, and I'm
Right.
not seeing it as well. So then it becomes harder to correct right away. And then, you're not missing one on a stand, you're missing two or three. And you step out of the stand and you scratch your head and you're like, was I in front? Was I behind? I felt like it looked good, but
Yeah.
I wasn't using my eyes correctly.
What do you do with the lenses? Are you experimenting with different lenses and colors and like what did you use at nationals? I know we both have brown eyes. I
Yeah.
know everybody's different. It doesn't matter your eye color. At least when I was talking to Ed Lyons, he was mentioning it's really about letting the light in, as much light in as you can that makes you comfortable. But eye color can vary, and even if you have light blue eyes, you might want more color, like a brown
Yeah.
eyed person would. What were you doing at nationals with your lenses, or did you?
Yeah, and prior to nationals, Clay Target Vision, they're awesome. They really keep me in the gear that I need, and I'm not an easy customer in terms of I've got prescription. They also cut my lenses shorter because God bless me with these fabulous cheeks, and I have issues with the lenses touching my cheeks and moving. So I pretty much have custom lenses, and so they're awesome. I have found this last year or so. I have started gravitating more towards highlighting orange again, where I didn't when my eyes were better, I didn't as much. So that contrast of the orange has started to help me more than it used to because I didn't have an issue before,
Hmm.
which means my lenses have slightly gravitated more towards rose hues. I've never been a purple fan. I don't shoot well in purple, but those reds kind of colors, where prior I'm shooting an amber ED lens. I'm shooting a 38 CIED or an 18 CED. I mean, and that's what I shoot in a lot. And I still do. But yeah, I've
What
kind of
lens
changed
filtration
that.
are you using now? The orange what?
I use good questions. I have a 50 CIS. I have another one. I
And you're
feel like I
using
need to
Pila,
text.
right? The Pila 590s, if I
Yes,
remember.
100% Pila.
Okay.
I don't even look at the lens colors anymore. I just put them on and I go, "Oh, I like this one." And Rebecca writes on the little bag for me and and that's I just know what I have, but um let me see if I can find it. Um
Yeah,
so I've been
I've
shooting
been good
in.
with purple. Purple's always been good for me, especially with
Okay.
green backgrounds. But
Yeah.
I did notice when I swapped to an orange lens this year, the orange pops obviously, and I just forgot what it was like to look through orange because I was using clear and purple mostly for most of my shoots.
Yeah.
The day we shot orange, it was very cloudy, so I wore a
Yep.
clear lens. I
Yep.
didn't wear a clear lens the rest of the week, but that was the best course that I shot again for
Yeah.
me. So I'm wondering if all those things come into play also.
Yeah, we'll see this next year. Like I said, I've been kind of experimenting. I've actually shot in a green lens at nationals, which was totally out of the realm of what I would ever even think about putting on.
Hmm.
And given that the targets are it's open sky, no trees, the green actually helped me with the black targets more.
Yeah, I could see that.
Typically the black targets are blobby. There's not really much detail, so that was kind of a new thing that I had never done before.
So
I
you
think
saw
there's
the
a
edges better with the green?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
I did. There's a blueberry lens of some sort that I'm curious to try out next year in Arizona. Um, I've tested it out a little bit, but I'm not as stuck on a color as I used to be. I'm willing to put on whatever I can see better that day. If my eyes are tired, I'm going to need more light. I'm going to need more contrast. If my eyes are really fresh, I don't need it as much. I can put on my typical ED and rock and roll.
Mhm.
Um, so I'm experimenting with that. Pila has enough lens colors to wear a different one every day of the year. Like there's there are so many choices now. It's almost overwhelming.
Right.
So that's also why I go to CTV though, because I can go talk to them. They can walk me through, they ask me some questions, and they can at least narrow it down into families and groupings that I'm like, okay, this is kind of where I need to look and
Okay.
what I like. But yeah, same thing though, as always, the more light, the better. The more light without squinting, without
Yeah.
being strained. I've gone too light before. I've gone too
Mhm.
light where my eyes get tired because it's so bright. But
Mhm.
yeah, more light is better with prescription as much as you can handle.
Was there anything in particular, like a piece of equipment that's helped you this year aside from the glasses? Or I know you went to a slower shell, but anything
Yep.
switch, any changes you made, chokes,
But
shoes, clothes?
no, those I have the best sponsors. Beretta, my new Beretta, my double A's. They have the 1180s for me. I've shot a Rhino for a long time. I did go tighter on a choke this year. I started shooting a 22 instead of a 17 for the
Oh
last half of
yeah?
the year.
For you
Yep.
just keep them in the barrel and that's it?
Yeah, I don't ever change chokes, typically. And with an auto, it a lot of times it doesn't do you much good because it helps with one target, but it's not helping you with the other.
Right.
Um, because I've only got one. But I put a 22 in at Wisconsin with the new gun and the new shell, and I never changed anything
Which chokes are you
since.
using?
I shoot a Rhino Generation 2.
Okay.
And I like that choke because it's heavy. In my
Yeah.
auto, I want the heaviest choke I can get. In my DT, when I used to shoot that, I wanted the lightest choke I could get. In my auto, though, I like a real heavy choke. So it's a Generation 2 Rhino.
Is your
Um,
gun ported?
no, I
Okay.
have shot a ported auto, but I did not port this one.
Okay.
I'm shooting 1180s, so I don't think it'll make any difference.
Yeah.
I don't think it will. There's not enough pressure in the chamber. And when you port an auto, you go down a path of potential cycle issues.
Okay. Because it's not getting
It's
enough
gas.
back pressure to
Beretta is gas
cycle it.
operated gun. Yeah,
Yeah.
when you're trying to expel more gas, I'm not saying that it will happen because I shot one, but you go down that pathway and it could be a potential issue.
Can I ask you something about nationals that I found kind of interesting this year? So we're shooting like I think Saturday or Sunday, and someone had mentioned that next year's national is already up for registration. And I
Yeah,
go on there, and there's already
I
1,700
know.
people signed up. This is
It's,
nationals isn't even over yet, and
yeah, it's crazy.
2026 nationals is almost booked up already.
Yeah.
And this isn't a, I guess the point of me bringing this up is the National Shooting Complex going to be able to handle the growth that it's projecting going forward? I think if I don't quote me on this, I think there was 25 to 2,700 new shooters, or not new shooters, shooters this year at nationals, which I think was the largest nationals it's ever been. I think it was the largest shooting event in the world this year. Does that sound right to you?
So we had, if not exact, but I think we had 600 first-time national attendees shoot.
Hmm.
We had 350, roughly 350 ladies shoot, which is the largest it's ever been. And we had, I think, over 500 junior, sub-junior, which is the largest it's ever been.
That's awesome.
And this nationals is the largest it's ever been.
Yeah,
Yes, I think the complex will be able to handle it. They'll just continue to add days on the front. The only thing that will get sacrificed is side events.
right.
Side events will become more challenging to get into because they can't increase the size of those unless they add more days.
Right.
But we added the Monday, Tuesday, and then we added the Saturday, Sunday. So, they'll just have to continue to
Of the
add.
of the previous week from the end, right?
Yeah.
So that
Yep.
was new this year.
No, no, no. That's been around for quite a while, but that's what they had to do because when the Thursday through Sunday, that used to be the only days you shot the main event.
Yeah.
And we had more and more people wanting to attend and they couldn't. So they added the 2-day rotations. I don't know
Mhm.
how many years ago that was, but they did that. So as this number gets bigger, but I don't think those 2-day rotations are full. So I think they're quite a ways from that. I don't know, but
Is it me though? It feels like if you come in that early, you're kind of missing out on what nationals is about because the Thursday through Sunday is really what that's the time to be there,
yeah,
right? You've got the Thursday
yeah,
night thing, the Friday night thing, Saturday night.
yep,
Most of the shooters seem to be there. Then you have the end of the night events going on. So if you come on like on a Monday before and shoot it, unless you're staying the rest of the week, even though you're not shooting, I feel like it kind of I guess what I'm trying to say is like you say that they're going to be able to handle the projected growth. Um, has there ever been a thought about moving nationals to another location temporarily, if the event gets to a size or can the
yeah.
NSCA buy more of the land around the area? I think that at
Yeah.
one point they had bought a lot of the land. Is there more land available for them to purchase, or is that
No,
not know?
I don't think so. I mean, that conversation's been had before,
Has it? Okay.
but I don't think we're there yet
Yeah.
on having to seriously think about that. I mean, hopefully, right, that it gets big enough that one day we do have to think about that, and that we do have to have a serious conversation about that. But
But you
yeah,
don't
the
think we're
complex
anywhere
is.
near that yet?
I don't think so.
Even with it booking like almost, immediately during the
Yeah,
thing.
I
I mean,
mean,
I think a lot of people are going to
I
be
think the
excluded.
the pre-bookings is a separate issue that's going on.
Yeah.
So the shoots filling up online a year in advance has become a pretty big issue. And
You're
what
not
it
just talking about
does,
nationals, you're talking about also regionals.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Or even like Jack
So
Links, for example. Jack Links, I've booked a year in advance and it was almost sold out too.
yeah. Well, and Jack Links has expanded, right? So they made more room, but a lot of these shoots that are sold out at when it's all said and done, at the end of the day, they still had spots available.
Right.
And the problem is people are signing up for the shoot with no thought or intention on the schedule. And then somewhere randomly throughout the year, prior to the event, they're going, "Oh yeah, I can't go to that." When they never even really thought about it prior.
Yeah.
So
And
it's
that's a shame.
becoming,
They shouldn't do that, right? I mean, that kind of
yeah.
you
Yeah,
should commit.
if you're going to register for a shoot, you need to at least have a good intentions and a pretty good idea that you are going to attend,
Right.
because makes it difficult for people to go because they have to buy plane tickets and rental cars and hotels. And if you can't secure those things, you're not confident in going, even if you're registered, because you don't know if you can do those things. So
Yeah.
I don't know what the solution is yet, but it will definitely it definitely needs to be a conversation that we have to have and kind of think about some ideas on maybe how to remedy that because I do think that's an issue.
Hmm.
Um,
Could nationals become, well, it's already a week long, a full week long, more than a week long. Could we add on more days, like if it gets to that point, or would that make it awkward?
Yeah, no, that's what they're going to have to do.
Yeah.
And to your point about kind of the 4 day, so it was actually interesting because this is the first year I've ever heard this from a lot of people, actually, that the Monday and Tuesday felt like a Saturday, Sunday, the
Oh, really?
of the regular. They said
I
it was
wasn't there for
so
that, so I couldn't
busy.
say.
It was so busy. The vendors, I heard that from lots of vendors that they had great walking traffic. They had great business early in the week. I talked to registration about it and they said they've had more people coming in early to do it than before
Okay, that's
and
great.
that it's really stretched it out. So this
Yeah.
is the first year that I've heard that. Maybe it was trending towards that. I just never asked or, never noticed, but I definitively heard that from a lot of people, staff, vendors, and shooters alike. So that's great news,
What
right?
if, could you see a pro squad being on the tail end of the week and then a pro squad being at the front end of the week? I know those are different conditions, different situations,
No.
but what if there was one full squad there and one full squad here?
No, I think
That wouldn't work?
yeah, you lose the intention of it.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair.
You lose the intention of it, but it's great that it's full. Biggest event of the year. I think it's going to continue to grow.
Yeah.
The complex is a machine. It takes so much freaking work to run that shoot.
It really does. Yeah.
Um,
And they did a
yeah,
great job. I mean, they always do a
yeah,
great job every time I've gone. So
yeah.
it's been great. I'm just curious to see your thoughts on the future. So speaking of which, let's kind of wrap up with some personal reflections and things that you've
Yeah.
done. I think
Okay.
you're pretty good to talk to about these things because you do actually think deeply about these things. But what's something that you wish more people understood about the sport and what it takes to compete at your level?
I think, ooh, I think more people need to understand that it's a journey. I know that sounds cliche, but this is a very difficult game. It's similar, I don't golf, but similar to golf, lots of sports, right? It is not going to be mastered quickly. You have to enjoy the journey of getting there. You have to enjoy, and my speech, I said the line, and I think it's true. It kind of evolved into this, but you have to enjoy um, the journey of getting better, finding joy in the pursuit of improvement. If you don't like that part of it, it's just a week, it's just a hobby and you might go to a few shoots and enjoy that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But you have to, understand what you want to get out of it. I think that for a lot of the pros, uh more people, I wish they understand like how hard it is to stay at hungry, how hard it is to stay at the top. It is so difficult mentally to do that. Um, it's not as simple as just going to get a lesson. It's like, and learning something new or learning more approaches. It's a constant evolution of trying to find what you need inside the head and outside the head.
Hmm.
And it's hard. Um, I'm not complaining at all. Amazing life, but it's not easy. Um, being a pro shooter with sponsors and stuff, it's way more than just the shooting. It's the travel and it's representing brands and products and um, teaching, right? Teaching has a huge portion of that. So
I mean, I
I
think
don't
a
know.
lot of it has to do with the character and the brand that you portray as an individual too, not
Yeah.
just the brands you represent. And I think you've done a phenomenal job of representing yourself, and how you are and how you approach things and who you are as a person. It's a testament to all the friends and people that like you and the fans that you have, if you will, right? Because
Oh,
You have
nice.
been a positive influence on the sport. You've been a good ambassador. You've been a great coach and a mentor, especially to me. And I feel like that plays a lot into it as well. So, um, how do you
Oh, nice.
personally define success then in that case? Now that you're a Hall of Famer now. You're not even, what are you even 35?
I just had a birthday,
I,
so I'm
I,
no longer 35.
oh,
I
okay.
am
So you're
36
not even
now.
40 and you're a Hall of Famer, you're a multiple time world champion, national champion. Like what do you look forward to now in shooting? I mean, how does that it feels
Yeah,
like you've lived a long career already and you haven't even hit 40.
the same. I love competing. I love going to a new course and challenging myself, seeing
Yeah.
what I can do. I love that part of it. And I still do, so I'm going to continue to do that. I do love being more involved in the last few years than I have been before, meaning delegate, executive council, in my coaching, um, building up a good client list and some of the students that come, shooters that come to me for lessons, seeing their progression, right? I'm more invested into their journey, which is a great thing, right? I love that feeling. I like being invested into other people's journey and
Yeah.
seeing those progressions. And that's become a part of shooting that I'm enjoying more now than I ever have. So just expanding on that, trying to see, how many more people I can impact and help. And it takes a village and bettering the sport, right? Part of, being on the NSCA and the executive council is because I think it's important, right? This is my job. This is my career. This is the sport that I love. So I can't sit back and just let other people, oh, this is, a good idea, or let's make the decisions. Like I want to be involved in that.
Yeah.
I want to make this better. I want it to be bigger. I want it to be better. I want it to be, uh, more well known. I want it to be more seen. I want all those things. So I want to participate in that process and trying to get there. Team USA, right? I want Team USA to be better than it ever has been. It's one of the recognition programs that the NSCA has that I think is invaluable,
Mhm.
right? It's the pinnacle team of our sport in sporting clays and VTAS. So I want to try and, level that up. Let's level up. If you're not getting better,
Well, you've
you're
been
getting
involved in the
worse.
new logo design, the website design that I think is forthcoming as well. You've been heavily involved. You've been on EC, if I remember correctly, or no?
This is my first
First
term.
year, first term
Yep.
on EC. Okay,
Yep.
so yeah, you're definitely making an impact in many other ways other than just shooting. So, no, that's
Yeah,
great.
and I'm learning a lot. It's great.
Yeah,
I mean, I knew I was going to learn a lot, but I'm learning more than I thought I was going to learn.
yeah,
Just about the inner workings of it and how things go and other people's ideas. There's so many good ideas. There's a lot of people in the sport that really put a lot of time and effort voluntarily
yeah.
into making it better. And it goes so unnoticed, I think, at times.
It really does, and I feel like the NSCA and the individuals that support it, really don't get a lot of recognition for what they do because on the surface it doesn't look like there's a lot to
Right.
do, but there's so much to
Oh
do.
my gosh. Yeah, there's
And I'm
so
not
many
just saying
layers
that. I
to
know
it.
some people are going to roll their eyes at this comment, but honestly, there's a lot of things that people just don't even realize happens behind the scenes and that need to get done and that need to be negotiated or take a look at. And so, no, I got to give them kudos for that because I did get to participate in a committee recently where I got just a touch of what that was like and all the things that were involved around that. So it
Mhm.
kind of opened me up. So, is there a way for people to volunteer if they want to help committees and help NSCA in other
Uh
ways? I
yeah,
don't, I
so
don't.
the best way to get involved is to reach out to so at one level would be your state association and the
Mhm.
next level would be the national delegate. So
Right.
your national delegates, there's tons of us throughout the country. To reach out to them. If you have any thoughts at any time, that's part of their position. That's part of their job is to mediate and keep that communication line open between members and the executive council and the NSCA. So always feel free to reach out to your national delegate or another national delegate, right? Even if they're not in your region, that doesn't necessarily mean that you can't reach out to them. We're going to try and funnel the request or the ideas, to the proper places. But
And for those folks
those
that don't know,
delegates,
Desi, national
yeah.
delegates are individuals in a state that are elected, right?
in a
by their
region.
state, by or a
Yeah,
region. Okay.
yeah,
So they're elected by their region, if you will, to represent that region at the national level. And
yeah.
then they're required to go to national meetings where they get updates that they're supposed to share with their region. Is that right? And vice versa. If there's feedback from the region, they can share that then with the national organization.
Yeah, the executive council. Yeah. So we've got our national delegates meeting, which is at nationals every year, that Wednesday. And then our executive council meeting is in January. And we do a lot of this mobily, right? It's phone calls and over the computer and things like that. But we're trying to make sure as an executive council that we're keeping the communication lines open for members
Mhm.
and giving these national delegates not necessarily more responsibility, but more opportunity to help because they've volunteered for this position, so they obviously want to help.
Right.
And we're trying to give them just better tools to be able to communicate with the members and again with the executive council and vice versa, and keep that those communication lines open.
And these delegates tend to also be board members of their state association. Am I right or no?
Yeah, yeah, I would say that's probably true.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they have some
I can't
influence
say
in their
that for
local
certain in
state.
every state. I've only Texas. I was on the Texas State Association, Sporting Clays Association when we lived there, which is very involved. That state association is very large, obviously. And then when I moved to Georgia, I haven't actually been on the Georgia State Association. I just went straight into the national delegate. But there are lots of uh, Southeast delegates that are heavily involved in the sport. So we definitely have good communication lines in this part of the country. But
Right on.
yeah,
Well, Desi, one, thank you for joining me again on the podcast. I know this has been a long
yeah,
time coming getting you back, and I appreciate you joining me. I think it was a good time for you to join me too. You know, runner up at
yeah,
nationals is a great accolade.
yeah.
You've been shooting well this year, and you know your Hall of Fame induction is a huge thing. So congratulations
Yep.
on that. Happy
Thank you.
belated birthday too. I know it was just your
You
birthday.
too.
Yeah,
I got
thank
to.
you.
I'm so glad you got to make it out to nationals this year. I know
Yeah.
you've been wanting to do that for a long time,
Well, I love that
and
it's my birthday week because I don't like doing anything
yeah,
more than shooting. So being able to
right.
shoot on my birthday is one of my favorite things to do. So
So
I'll try to make it every time. So
yeah,
looking
and I'm glad we were able to
forward.
connect. I know we were trying to do it earlier this year, but we had more to talk about
Yeah,
doing it now, so that was good.
yeah. Well, thank you so much again for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you guys when I see you.
Yeah, thanks, Henning. I appreciate it.
All right, take care.
Bye.
That was Desi Edmunds, world champion, Hall of Famer, and one of the true ambassadors of the game. Every time I talk with Desi, I'm reminded that her success isn't just about talent. It's about mindset, humility, and genuine love for the sport. Her Hall of Fame induction isn't just a reflection of what she's accomplished, but of how she's carried herself through all of it, with grace, professionalism, and that quiet intensity that makes her such a force on and off the course. If you've enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, drop us a quick review. It helps more people discover the incredible athletes shaping the world of clay shooting. So I really appreciate it if you could do that. Thanks for tuning into the California Clays podcast. See you next time.